Welcome back to another video. This is the first in a three-part series where we're going to be looking at this DFIR report, real intrusions by real attackers, the truth behind the intrusion. Today we're going to be taking a look at BlackSuit Ransomware. This is a write-up of a real-world situation that happened in the wild. And we're just going to take a quick look at the case summary. So it tells us the intrusion began in December 2023 with a Cobalt Strike beacon. So the first question is, what is Cobalt Strike? Cobalt Strike is a platform created for pen testers to attack enterprise networks. It has a lot of very useful inbuilt features, and the way it works is we're going to look at a diagram quickly. So you have your offensive team. They set up a Cobalt Strike team server. This is their command and control center. And on the victim's PC, you put a beacon. This is the process that calls back to the Team Strike server. In the middle, you have these reverse proxies. So you don't want to actually leak your IP address of your team server. So you can set up different reverse proxies, and you can have 2 in this example. You can have 10. You can have as many as you want. And they can be on AWS, on CrowdStrike, on whatever hosting platform that you'd like. And the victim's PC with a beacon installed is going to ping these different servers and then send the data back to the team server. So that's quickly how it works. And if we see over here, it says at the bottom, initial access. Despite thorough investigation, the initial access point for the beacon's deployment could not be determined. So it got on there somehow. We don't know how. It could have been through a phishing email. It could have been through a USB in the parking lot that someone plugged in. It could have been by a malicious website impersonating a legitimate one and prompting the user to download a fake file. Any number of ways, we're not exactly sure. It doesn't tell us. They weren't able to determine it. But in any case, they got the Cobalt Strike beacon onto the victim's machine. And then they did some enumeration with system info, NL test. They used Kerberoasting attacks and ASRepRoasting attacks. So a quick explanation, Kerberoasting attacks leverage pre-authentication. So when pre-authentication is disabled, Kerberoasting will work and it will get you the NTLM hash that you can then crack using a tool like Hashcat. ASRepRoasting works when services are running as user accounts, and that can also leak password hashes. So once they were able to do that, they used SharpHound to enumerate the Active Directory and see all the different users in the Active Directory, all the different groups, how everything interacts and such. SharpHound is very good at providing a graphical interface so you can view all of that and see different attack vectors based off that. So after they did that, they were able to access SMB and they were able to gain access to different workstations. They then were able to access a domain controller. After some further enumeration, we see over here they were able to access RDP. Oh, I missed out a step. They were able to gain access to LSASS. LSASS is the way that Windows handles authentication. So if you're able to dump the SAM account hashes, then you're able to get the hashes of all the different users on the Active Directory network. And that allows for attacks like pass the hash attacks and also password cracking in general. Then they were able to use AD-find, which is a different Active Directory enumeration script. And finally, they were able to deploy the BlackSuit ransomware through the $share file. And that is a share that is used by all the different users on the Active Directory network, and it's launched on startup. So we're just going to quickly go through all of this. As we saw before, initial access, we're not sure how they got it on there. They used PSExec. So in the next video, we're going to be emulating this attack vector. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to use Cobalt Strike because it is a very expensive software. And for the free trial, you have to be vetted, and that takes quite a while. So instead, we're going to be doing this all hands-on with PSExec. So instead of pretending that we're somehow able to get a Cobalt Strike beacon on the victim's PC, we're going to assume that somehow we were able to get low-level access, username and password to an account on the Active Directory network. So first of all, they were running PSExec. It's showing us the different event codes that was triggered when that happened. They spawned a Rundle32 process, and you can see that over here in these logs. In the final video, we're going to be going over Splunk, and we're going to be looking at exactly what all of this looks like if you have a SIM installed. And they did some persistence by editing different registry files. We can see that over here. They added scheduled tasks so that their beacon would deploy on startup. privilege escalation, defense evasion. This is adding more registry keys to allow RDP to different file systems. Process injection, so this is how they were able to hide their Runnable 32 process by injecting them into legitimate processes that we can see over here. These are all normal things on Windows machines that would be running locally, and this is how they decompiled that with Yara, which is a memory scanning tool. Credential access, they did ASRepRoasting as we spoke about earlier, and Kerberoasting, and then LSASS memory access. Discovery, so this is the enumeration that was done by the attackers. We can see they ran system info, they used SharpHound, which is part of the Bloodhound suite, which is used for enumerating Active Directory. Scroll down a little bit further, we see that you also use ADFind, which is another tool for Active Directory enumeration. Get data info, this is a PowerShell script that gets info on local systems and users. Lateral movement, so this is what we spoke about earlier. Once they were able to get access to SAM hashes, they can do pass the hash attacks with Mimikatz or some other tools that give you access to other users who might have higher privileges on the network. Scroll down a little bit, this is explaining exactly how they did this. We're going to be looking at this more in depth in the final video when we look at what exact logs are created when you do stuff like Mimikatz. This is a diagram of their command and control system. If you scroll down, there's a little bit of a clearer one over here. So we have their breached host, which is the victim's machine, and we see over here they have two reverse proxies running. So if you look at that, these are these two, 1 and 2, and this one's protected by Cloudflare. And as you can see, this diagram doesn't show their team server because, again, they don't know what it is because these two hide what the team server IP address actually is. So scrolling down a little bit, this is all just stuff on how they found out about it and different logs that were created. If we scroll down to the bottom, it will tell us the MITRE attack. This is a very, very useful tool on getting a quick overview of what exactly happened. So we can see initial access, again, we don't know how that happened, so it's blank. Execution, they use PowerShell, Windows command shell, malicious files, service execution. Persistence was done with system BC, so that's by editing registry files and startup folders. Privilege escalation was done with Cobalt Strike by abusing elevation control mechanisms. Defense evasion was done by modifying registry keys and process injection, which we saw earlier. Credential access, that was done by ASRepRoasting, Kerberoasting, LSASS memory dumps. Discovery, so this is their enumeration. They were looking at domain groups, domain trusted discovery, remote system discovery, software discovery. This is just normal enumeration stuff. You see the tools that they use were Cobalt Strike, NLTest, system info, net, route, ping, ADFind, SharpHound, get data info. This is the PowerShell script we mentioned earlier. Lateral movement, they were able to do that through SMB, RDP, and pass the hash attacks. Most likely with Mimikatz, but again, it wasn't said exactly how they did it because this is the blue team side of things, so you're not going to be certain on what the attacker used to get certain privileges. Command and control, this is how their command and control system worked. This is Cobalt Strike, system BC, and they use proxies and web protocols. Exfiltration, they didn't actually take any data off, and the impact was, of course, ransomware, so data encrypted for impact and inhibit system recovery. And this is quite interesting. Also, if we go up a little bit, we'll be able to see this is the note they left behind. Good whatever time of day it is, your safety services did a really poor job of protecting your file system against our professionals. Extortion name BlackSuit. So this is the attacker leaving a note, how they can pay to get all their systems back up and running. So this is ransomware and extortion. And we're going to be running all of this in the next video, showing how it can be done for educational purposes only. So we'll see you in the next video.